Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. Today I'm going to be doing my April Part 2 wrap-up. So I have 6 books here. One I DNF'd, one I was really unhappy with, and the rest I was pretty happy with. So let's start with the lowest ratings. The first one that I really just did not get along with is this. This is Dune, and it's by Frank Herbert. Now, I have tried multiple times to get into sci-fi, and I found a couple that really suit me. Planetfall and The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. But I don't think that this style of sci-fi is for me. I think that something so epic and long and otherworldly does not suit me. And I feel the same way with fantasy. Epic fantasies don't make sense to me. And as much as I would love to get into those sorts of worlds where you're like on an epic journey in another universe and another time and place, I need some reality to ground me. And this did not give me any reality to ground with. So that was a disappointment. That was my 600-page book for the month, and I did finish it, but I was pretty disappointed. So this one is The Book of Heroes, and it's by Miyake Miyabi, and I DNF'd this. I think it is a book that some people might really enjoy. It has a lot of interesting fantasy and scary monsters kind of things. The plot is a little girl's brother is taken away and she has to go save him. It's pretty basic, but to me it was boring and it felt childish in a way that I was not expecting. And it felt sloppily put together. I was not impressed, and so I DNF'd this book. Which makes me really sad because it was sent to me by the publisher. So I will be doing a full in-depth review of Goth, which was the other book that I received from this publisher, Heikisuru Publishing. Yeah, but this one just didn't do anything for me. And then we have Stranger Heart Beating. This one was actually really beautiful. I really enjoyed this. So this is a story of a woman who is killed by a swan, and her husband begins to find out different things about her after her death. Now, I really enjoyed this. It was based on a myth, which the myth is not in my brain right now, apparently. I thought it was really stunning. I thought it was really understated. I thought it was very well put together. But it was still not a 5-star read for me. And I think that's because, for me, I wanted more. And I wanted more story. I don't know how to explain it. It just fell flat for me in certain spots. And in those spots, that immediately dropped the rating for me. So it's a good book. I recommend it. But it just wasn't perfect. And that's what I'm trying to do for 5 stars now, is more perfect-esque stories. And I had 2 5-star reads this month, so it's kind of hard to... Also, I think, to be fair to that book, I had just finished my 5-star read, and so for me, nothing was going to come close. And so it kind of fell under the shadow of a great book. So I felt really bad. This one had the same problem where it suffered from being under the shadow of a great book. So this is The Border of Paradise by Esme Wang, and I loved this. I thought it was really stunning. I thought it was breathtaking. I thought it had a lot of great qualities to it. It was a really interesting experience and a really interesting thought on suicide and death and life and the choice of life. And the story is about a young man he's not that young. It's about a man who has some children and a wife, and the story opens with him at a hotel preparing or contemplating suicide. You're not really sure which. And then you go back with him to tell his story of his life, where he explains how he was given the family business when he wasn't ready, how he had trouble with his family and his parents, how trauma and anxiety has changed his life over the years. It was a really brilliant book and a really understated conversation about mental health and mental illness. I really enjoyed this. Then this beauty, The Doll's Alphabet by Camelia Godava. I am in love. I think this is my new favorite short story collection of all time. I really was fascinated, drawn in love, obsessed, unable to put it down, unable to change from it, unable to leave it. It was stunning and brilliant and wonderful, and I am so obsessed with it. It holds so much warmth and excitement and fear and struggle and brutality and gruesomeness and gorgeousness, and it's everything in a nutshell. It's just fantastic. I absolutely adore this, and I recommend it to anyone. I will do a more full in-depth review of this closer to its release date here in the United States, which I believe is closer to October. So you'll have to wait quite a bit for a full in-depth review, but it will happen. Sorry I'm so sniffly. I just don't feel good. And then, of course, this is my 5-star read of the month. Aside from The Doll's Alphabet, this is my 5-star novel. This is Grace. This is by Natasha Dion. And it is brilliant. It is beautiful. It is the slave narrative of a young woman who escapes from slavery and ends up, you find out in the first few pages, being murdered. And then the whole story takes place from her perspective in the afterlife, watching over her child growing and flashing back and forth between now and before she was killed. It's so beautifully done, so well executed, and I absolutely loved it. I am obsessed, and I think everyone should read this, especially if they're trying to broaden their horizon and give themselves a more diverse shelf. So those are the books that I read that are not the Dewey's 24-hour readathon. I will be doing a separate video for the Dewey's 24-hour readathon. I had a lot of fun with those books. I read a little slower this month, which was very strange, but I think it worked. And yes, those are my books. I will talk to you guys soon.